Bruce, you must have something really good too.
Of course I do. It's Bruce Danielson, and I guess I'm here to entertain you too.
Last item is public comment. This is a time for anybody to comment on what we've talked about at the meeting. I'd invite anybody up, and you have 5 minutes. Welcome, Bruce.
Bruce Danielson. What I'm going to talk about is not to disrespect any person on this board or anybody that's being hired, but I do have some questions based on 40 years of experience in internal and external auditing of data. One of the projects I did about 20 years ago involved leading an effort at a company that, in an effort to save 1,000 jobs, we uncovered a $500 million scheme running in 22 different scenarios. Internal audit is nothing to be sneezed at. I understand what the work Rich has been doing and the problems that arose back all those years ago when this department was set up and this committee was set up. My questions involve how the department is being staffed right now, or how it's going to be staffed. How does transferring an entrenched city employee into the internal audit department accomplish its original purpose?
Mr. Chair.
Why is this body willing to put each
a point of order was made.
Hold on.
I believe that public comment is to be directed at items on the agenda. Where the individual is going right now, that is not an agenda item.
Yeah, could you keep it to...
Actually, it does, because Mr. Oskell just went through the parameters for setting up an internal audit department. We've just listened to Mr.
Speak to those parameters, do not speak to a hiring process.
So I am following the guidance of this process, and I am following, and you're using up my time.
And
so I'm looking at 5 minutes
Excuse me, point of order.
That allows
Councilor Kiley, hold on.
Once again, we have a policy as to what public comment should be about, and I am just trying to uphold that policy. So please adhere to it. That's my recommendation to the chair.
Yeah, just try to keep it in the lane of what we've talked about. If you can weave it into that.
Okay. That criteria that Mr. Oskell laid out, and I appreciate what he said in there. And as I've worked with this, and now we've lost over a minute of my time, it's why would a chosen new hire of any kind be willing to be put in a position of having to recuse from audits involving prior work? Now, this is important. He just said
Mr. Chair, point of order. Once again, he's wandered off of any topic that was addressed.
We're getting into things that we're not on the agenda today. You want to talk about performance metrics or?
Mr. Chair, we actually have, as Mr. Oskell just laid out, a series of points that mean a great deal in this process. What we just went through, listening to the Ide Bailey report, we just listened to Mr. Fifley, Mr. Oskell, all of these people, including the work that this young woman did in her job. All of this was laid out properly to establish that what we're looking at in an internal audit is being able to go in and feel comfortable and let the citizens feel comfortable about the process. And anytime you shut off a discussion, Mr. Kiley, that you have shut off the people's ability to come in and discuss these issues and to feel comfortable that we are actually getting a problem solved. When we get our comments shut off in a situation like this, and you have now caused me to use up several minutes of my time, I am now asking that I be allowed to finish my process here. I will coach my words accordingly, but all of you in this whole process, set yourselves up for maybe where I need to be in my summary. That in order for an internal audit to be done properly, and to lead an internal audit department, and this is what we learned in trying to save those 1,000 jobs here in Sioux Falls, was curiosity. We had a staff of 6 people in this one particular office, And our only requirement in this job was to have insatiable curiosity. We had the curiosity to say, why did this happen? We were given 100% access to any piece of data that was in that company to find out what was going on. We did one audit process when I was brought on. We made $11 million in this one process. To continue to the next step in the process, we found out we lost $44 million. They thought they were making money. When it all got said and done, when we actually closed out that process, I did a report where we found we lost $178 million. How that all tied back in is we were an internal audit department that was totally staffed by people from outside the business and these 6 people, not one of them was a previous employee of this company. We all went in and found a way to solve the problems that were in this business through curiosity. All I'm trying to say, and this is after I had been questioned by attorneys, we had federal investigators, the business ended up going into receivership because the feds came in and said something wasn't right. There were RICO violations in this. All I'm laying out is if you bring in anybody into the internal audit department that is previously employed by the city of Sioux Falls, has any connections in the city of Sioux Falls, you could end up having violations, and is it going to be worth it to you to spend the time going through all of the legal requirements that we had to go through? Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, I'll adjourn this meeting.